So we're going to be looking at the fish kill investigation organizer. So this is to help you on your claim evidence reasoning or like the fish kill wrap up. During our investigation, we've studied many different things that could be the potential cause of the fish kill. We've looked at the aluminum smelting plants, farms, the coal power plant, the sewage treatment plant was what we started at as the potential causes. So we're going to go through and see if we can eliminate some different ions or things that might be dissolved in the river water. Which fish kill which day did we investigate it on? And then briefly describe evidence that was gathered about this pollutant on these days. So what type of evidence was it? Like, did it turn litmus paper red? Did it have a certain pH? Did it have certain ions present? Are certain ions insoluble? What was the test that was done in order to collect that data, and then what was the data collected? So we'll look at day 2 and day 1. So starting with day 1, we have our introduction here that talks about the sewage treatment plant, providing water into the river, the fish kill, when it happened. So it happened in December. So the picture that we start off with, just in general, we see Anderson is where the total kill zone is. The farther we get away from Anderson, we have a partial kill zone. Once we are past Indianapolis, it becomes a minimal kill zone. So because of this, there must be a source located up here near Anderson and gets less and less as we go downriver. So we started by looking at reasons why certain things might dissolve or not dissolve. So we looked at oil being a non-polar hydrocarbon. And yours will be filled out here with some more information. So think if oil is non-polar, will it dissolve in the river water? If you scroll down to the bottom, so you can read through about electrolytes, non-electrolytes, how this might impact the water. At the bottom of this one, we have pollutants. So one of the pollutants is lead ions. You determined what type of bond it was, or intermolecular force, if it was soluble in water, and if it was an electrolyte or not. So think about what causes harm. So the lead causes harm to the fish, potential fish kills here. More toxic and acidic environments. Arsenic, same, more toxic and acidic environments. Fuel, this one was a different one than what was listed there. Fish, if they're exposed to this, it can reduce their growth rates, change their heart function, and it can affect the survival of their offspring, but the effects are usually short-lived. So if they're short-lived, is this a cause of the fish kill? So fuel oil, on your chart here, what day was it investigated? So right now I have some on day 1 at the bottom, which talks about it. If you go up above, there's more information about oil and how it interacts with water. So on day 1, you can find oil. So you'd put like fish killed day 1, and then you put more information in the other boxes. What evidence do we have? You can have quotes, some different things, whatever's described here. What type of intermolecular forces is oil? How does that interact with water? So that's one of the pollutants described. Phosphates and nitrates, there's some information here. These are kind of backgrounds. There's more investigation on other pages. This is just a good place to start to get a background on what impacts these have on the water. Then we go to fish kill day 2. This is both in week 15. This is Solubility Rules. So this one, you watched the video and looked at what dissolves in water versus what does not. If it does not dissolve in water, it creates a solid precipitate that's floating. We want to see the more soluble it is, the more harm it can cause to our fish. And we took this and we applied it on day 3 to the fish kill itself. So we'll go to week 16, and you just go kind of day by day for evidence. So day 2 didn't have much evidence. There's some background. So we will open up day 3. And there's a lecture if you guys have to finish this still. Have all the fish kills finished and then work on this organizer, because it's hard to do if you don't have the information completed. So we have our general solubility rules. And we gathered evidence about aluminum and lead, and if they matched to being present in the water. based on what you gathered here, so day 3 has evidence for lead and aluminum. There's some information on day 3. We performed a solubility test and compared the data to day 1, or day 2, sorry. We compared it to day 2 for the lead and the aluminum. We did the same thing for arsenic. We did a solubility test to confirm or say that it wasn't there. So on your investigation, you'll say, was it present or eliminated on that day? Present or eliminated, and same here. So arsenic was also on day 3 that we looked at. Say 2, 3. It's on both. You're comparing days 2 and 3. As we continue down, there is a new chart here. These are amazing to read through and see where stuff is located. So thinking about oil, we've already kind of eliminated oil based off of day 1 and its polarity. Farms, here's where farms are located, south of Anderson. Think about what farms are doing and causing. Sewage treatment plant is located at Anderson. We have the coal power plant and the aluminum smelting plant. So think about location can be a piece of evidence. You can use this map as evidence. Based on the map on day 3, I see that this location could mean that it can do blank for the fish kill. I would read through all of these. Sewage treatment plant. What evidence do we have here? For these ions, which of those sources gives off lead? Which of them gives off arsenic? Which of them gives off nitrates and phosphates? Which one gives off aluminum? So look through these resources to see what they give off. So for instance, like yesterday we looked at the coal power plant. The power plant uses river water to cool its turbines and then releases hot water back into the river. So there's a thermal pollutant from those. Arsenic, aluminum, and lead are leached from the coal. So coal power plant gives off heat, arsenic, aluminum, and lead. Also sulfur dioxide that combines with water to make sulfuric acid, which makes it acidic. So coal power plants give off pollutants, metals. They heat up the water, and it also gives sulfuric acid, which makes it acidic. So it's 3 things from the coal power plant. Aluminum smelting plant releases lead, aluminum, and other heavy metals. So you can, part of your evidence could be like, this is found at X, Y, and Z locations. These sources give off these pollutants. Towards the bottom here, there's some information that connects to farms. So farms have some on day 3. For the phosphates and the nitrates, there's some on day 3. Not too much tested yet, though. Then we go to our molarity calculations. So we have your concentration notes. You can look through the notes. Then on your molarity calculations, you calculate it at the top. At the bottom here, it goes over aluminum ions. So we've done molarity calculations on day 4, the molarity calculations. So where it says aluminum, that was also done on day 4. And you'll put more information than this, but we use some molarity calculations to determine our concentration. On day 4, it gives you the ions. You did your calculations here and compared it to toxicity levels. So talk about your data. How does your data compare? So some of your explanations here, if they were really good and descriptive, those are perfect to include right here. It says briefly describe what evidence you have. So if you already described your evidence previously, you can add that to here. What was the test that was done? So how did we determine that this many ions were present? So how do we test for that? So read the paragraph. Down here is another calculation, and then tell us how you came to this conclusion here. Then looking back at the pollutants on day 1, you've explained what aluminum does. So that's why we looked at day 1 first. And then it says, look back at possible sources on day 3. So on here, you would have told me kind of, okay, day 3, aluminum came from X, Y, and Z. There's 3 locations for aluminum. Arsenic came from X, Y, Z also. Which locations did these come from? Or sources? So each one of these should kind of have like sources that they came from. And you can include those from day 3 is the best place to find those. Day 3 and day 1, we'll talk about sources. Day 1 gives you what does that cause. Day 3 is how do those come from the sources. After week 16, so this one's molarity. Week 17, we have fish kill day 5, and then 6, 7 for solubility and temperature. So you're just going to go through all the fish kills, continue to go through. We'll open up day 5. So on day 5, we looked at concentration and the amount of solvent. So this talks about concentration versus dilution. So if the total fish kill on day 1 was located in Anderson, why is it a minimal kill zone past Indianapolis? So this is a good explanation to add to that. What happens? So you can use your explanations here to kind of talk about your different concentrations of things on your investigation. Are there less of any of these? More of any of them? You can add a little separate section talking about concentrations. And then it just goes into calculations. So this one you just need like the first page here to talk about concentrations. Uh, 6 and 7. So solubility and temperature. How does temperature affect solubility? Here, this talks about phosphates and nitrates. So phosphates and nitrates, day 6, 7. Phosphates and nitrates, day 6 and day 7. We'll be on both of those days. So there's a video here to watch on eutrophication to kind of get a good understanding of it. You can reread this. How would phosphates and nitrates affect the fish kill? How does temperature play a role? If it's colder or warmer, and think about the fish kill happening on December 16th through January. So think how temperature would affect the role in that case. So we've had the graph. You guys have explanations of the graph here. And it talks about saturation. So you can say, like, was there more of a certain metal at that time or a certain nutrient that affected it? We have 2 explanations. We have temperature and rainfall here. So that could be some of your data that you include. The certain months that they occur in. And then we have our graphs for solubility data for nitrates and phosphates. So we have nitrates here, phosphates, and we know the maximums. So we've had our answers here. We compared them to the maximum of 10 milligrams per liter and 0.1. So we compared our data to whether it was above or below the maximums. If it was above it, that can contribute to significant algal growth. If it's below, then it would not. And that was for November and December for both of them. For these days in December, we look to see if anything here, nitrates, are they above 10.0? Phosphates, are they above 0.1? So not at, but are they above that number? If not, then there cannot be significant algae growth. So did we rule out, or did we confirm that nitrates and phosphates were present and a cause of the fish kill? So eliminated or marked as present. So that is what you'll do for day 6 and 7. And then 8 and 9, you will wrap up with acids and bases and see how those affect the solubility as well and the pH and how that affects the fish kill. So you'll put lots of evidence here in the bottom, and that's what will help you the most.